Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that'll help you become your best self. And today we are talking about worrying versus planning, the difference between being scared and being prepared. Yes, I do like that rhyme. But before we jump into it, as always, I want to invite you to come say hi to me on social media at Sabrina Joy Perozzo on both TikTok and Instagram. So come say hi and send me a DM. Also, if you look in the show notes below, which is how to spell my name on both TikTok and Instagram, if you don't know, and a link to sign up to the weekly newsletter that comes out every Wednesday evening, where I share like Therapy Corner, which is a more deep, vulnerable sharing of a story and a lesson that it's a good reminder for us all, announcements for things, reminders of podcasts that have come out. Also some random thoughts that are helpful, I think. So check all that out and sign up for the newsletter down there. As well as in the show notes, you can find where to send me an email if you have any questions, comments, concerns, progress, feedback, topic suggestions, or anything. If you just want to say hi to me, that's great too. So send an email. You can also submit an anonymous topic suggestion to the podcast if you do not want to be identified, but you want to suggest something for me to talk about. Do that, as well as an anonymous an anonymous venting session. So if you don't have anyone that's emotionally available in your life or someone that you trust, but you need to vent about something and just get it off your chest, you are welcome to use that sheet because, again, it is anonymous. And last but not least, the planner journal that I've been developing for a while is about to come out. Now, if you are not watching the video version of this, you will not be able to see me pop it up on the screen. But if you would like sneak peeks of it and to learn more about it, please follow me on Instagram, watch the stories. I've already posted like 2 or 3 videos today, kind of walking through what's inside of it. And I think also in the show notes below, there's a link for you to RSVP for the planner so that when there is a link to pre-order and purchase, which will be the cheaper price, you will be told like sooner than everyone else. So that's all the announcements that I have. And I'm excited for the planner. I'm so excited for the planner journal. It's amazing. And that's it. Let's just jump into today's episode, which again is worrying versus planning, the difference between being scared and being prepared. So Sabrina, am both a top-notch worrier and planner. I love planning. Anytime someone's planning something and they're like, oh, do you think you can help? And I'm like, yes, I would love to offer this like natural skill that I have for planning things. And I know that kind of sounds prideful, but I am very proud. I'm proud of kind of like few things skills-wise that I do. That one I'm very proud of. However, I'm less proud of the fact that I do worry in a top-notch fashion as well. But I love planning things down to like the nitty-gritty details. While also almost worrying myself to death because of the fear of something not turning out the way I was hoping or expecting, which is the worst. It's worse when you have expectations that are unknown as well. And I know that I'm not alone in this. I know I'm not alone in thinking that I am like one of the world's worst worriers and intense planners. And me personally, I often try to play this off as like I'm worrying, but I'm actually an elaborate planner. So I'm actually like really worrying, but I'm trying to be like, let's paint the facades and people know I'm a planner. Then I'm just going above and beyond to plan. But it usually doesn't work. A lot of people that actually know me are able to differentiate what is actually happening. Bummers. But it is common for people to think they are planning when they're actually worrying. They will like tell themselves this story, this misconception, this lie that, no, I'm not worrying. I'm just planning. I'm just like the tippy top utmost like detailed planner when really you're worrying. But it's also common for people to think someone is worrying when they are actually doing a great job planning. And it could be from their own bias of being told that, they are a worrier anytime they've planned something, or they've told themselves the lie that they are actually a planner when they're actually worrying. And so now they're projecting that insecurity onto other people and being like, hey, you are planning a lot. You might be a worrier, right? It's not fun. And so I'm sure you can see how knowing the difference between these two can be confusing and tricky sometimes. And it would be helpful to be able to easily differentiate based on situations and experiences that we often go through. And let's not forget about the negative connotation that worrying has on it, right? People never want to be labeled as a worrier. Like, no one wants that. That's not like a badge where I'm like, bam, I'm a worrier, double sticker me. Like, no one wants that. Because it's been deemed something that we shouldn't be, like we shouldn't be a worrier, and could be seen as weak or struggling or even incapable of managing our emotions to other people, right? This is how we think other people will see us. And even though, we aren't supposed to care about what other people's opinions are of us, it's actually not even our business, it's still tough because you can get caught in that trap. I know I do, worrying about what other people are thinking about me, worrying about any judgments or opinions that they have actually placed on me, and me not making up the ones that I think that they're doing. Ooh, it's fun in there. It's fun in my mind, right? And I'm sure you feel the same. It may be in some capacity, or someone that does. It's still tough. It's still tough. And I'm not making this whole episode to come on and say like worrying is bad. Don't ever do it. Only plan. Because there is a place for both worry and planning. And I'm not saying that like worry needs to be your best friend, like it was for me and still is sometimes. It's just understanding, like knowing its place. Like worrying just isn't like a good habit, but it's well, I don't. It's not a good habit, but it's something that just it's a natural response. It just comes on us, right? Like when we're dealing with something and we're going through an experience and worry will just like creep in, right? Even if we're trying our best to really focus on the positive and what we can control and all of this, it can still like creep in, like spider creep in, right? But it's like a natural response to have when you're in the midst of something unknown, and whether or not the end result will be positive does cause concern, and that is a natural response. It's what happens when you are connected to like whatever is at stake. So if you're worried because, your child is missing and you're trying to find them, which it's a very grave like example, but it's just one that I was thinking of. And so it's like, yeah, that's going to cause you worry. Or if you are deep in traffic and you're going to be late to work and you already are like 2 strikes deep in being late to work, you're going to worry. You're going to worry what's going to happen, right? Or if someone's sick and ill in the hospital, you're going to worry about how they're doing and how they're progressing and all of these things. Like, right? These are all like, well, I guess the traffic one isn't that big of a worry, but these are just the examples that flow out of my head. I'm sorry. But yeah, so it's just a natural response because you're connected to like whatever is going to happen or is at stake. And, of course, like planning is important because it's helpful, right? To get ahead of a situation that involves a lot of activities, actions, people, places, all the things, right? Planning will ensure that the experiences happen with the least amount of like issues and struggles while also accounting for everything that you need, right? I love a good plan. Woo! Everything is just generally where it needs to be. Of course, sometimes problems still ensue. That's just what life is. But it's like a good plan. It's like it's you've kind of developed how it should all go. But there is a line that can be crossed that takes planning too far, as well as a line that can be crossed when worrying is taken too far. So when you worry too much, it's like you stay in that state of emotion of worry, as opposed to, identifying the fact that, oh, I'm worrying right now. Let's figure out what we can actually do that would help the situation, that would be beneficial, because worrying is just as bad as, having a woe is me party, sitting in your pit of despair, because doesn't do anything for you. It's not productive. There's no action that you're developing while you're worrying, right? And so that's why it's like, okay, have that response, but then shift it into something that will actually help the situation. Planning can go over the top, because if you are planning everything and it seems all in order, but you push it to the fact where you're overly planning everything, that it shifts into worry because you start thinking of all the things that could go wrong and how it's all going to just like shatter down on you and it's going to be the end of the world maybe. That's when planning can just like cross over into over this like boundary line that it just doesn't need to go. So both of them are helpful, or there's a place for both. I don't really think worrying is helpful, but it's a thing that we do. It's a natural response that we should respect and embrace, but don't stay there. And then planning is a great thing too, but you can overplan and take it too much. So that's why today I wanted to go over the differences between worrying and planning, because I know it'd be really helpful to kind of go back and forth and be like, oh, this is this thing for worrying, but the same thing for planning, and that different perspective that will help us to understand the difference. Okay, so we have 7. Let's get on it. The first one is when you worry, you have, okay, I forgot my spiel, you guys. How could I forget? Okay, so before I get into the list, which will be examples of, how you see worrying in one perspective and then planning in another, so you understand the difference. If you feel like this list of suggestions and knowledge is not helpful for you or doesn't like hit the mark, please reach out to a therapist or a counselor and talk to them about it so that you can better understand worrying versus planning for your own life. Or you can go to your best friend, which is Google, and just type in worrying versus planning and read all the articles and the knowledge that is available for you on the interwebs right now. Because this is all based on my own research, knowledge, experience, and the experiences of others that I can share. And that's all. Let's jump into it. Number 1, when you worry, you have tons of thoughts racing through your mind. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm worrying about this, that, and the other. It's like this continual ticker. It's kind of like if you ever watched like the financial channels, or even the sports channels like ESPN, NFL Network, that kind of thing, where they have a ticker going on the bottom where it just continues to go with new information. That's kind of like what it feels like for worry. It's just continual information being fed in and things for you to worry about. When you are planning, you are intentionally coming up with ideas, solutions, and spending time brainstorming. So when you are worrying, you're just letting everything filter into your brain and you're worrying about it from whatever level you are available to do so at that moment, or you'll come back to it. But when you're planning, you're like, okay, let's take the time to think about this, consider what we should do, how we can fix it or whatever, and then be done with it. So worrying is usually an activity where you can't just like put it down and come back and like think about it later, come back to it later. Where planning is, it's like you spend the time doing it and you're like, okay, break time, we'll come back to this. So there's a good difference between worrying and planning. Number 2 is worrying isn't helpful or productive because it doesn't initiate any action for things to change. So it's kind of like what I was saying before. When you worry, you're not initiating any sort of action to contribute to a change so that you are no longer worrying. Planning is very helpful and productive in whatever you're trying to accomplish. And planning is helpful and productive because you're actually coming up with a plan and like some steps for you to accomplish that goal, go on that specific journey to learn this, that, and the other, build the best intentions that you could have in your life for like that time period that you want. So yeah, worrying is because you're just allowing things to build up in your mind, but no actions taken to actually change anything. And then planning is productive and helpful because it'll actually help you to take actions and figure out what actions you should take to hit those goals. So one, you are just sitting there in turmoil. The other one, you are moving right along. Number 3, worrying is listing all the ways you aren't prepared. Planning is listing all the ways you are prepared. So if you've ever like taken a moment and well, maybe not a moment, maybe many moments, it's fine. I have multiple times where you're just like listing everything that could go wrong, that you are not prepared for, that someone else is not prepared for, the most crazy situations that could happen, right? That's worrying when you're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do if this attacks us or this goes here or we lose this, blah, blah, blah. When you're planning, you're listing all the ways that you are prepared. You're like, okay, well, if we lose this, we're able to go to this and this and this place to get to replenish our items and be on our way. Or, I have this like bear spray. So if we do get like cornered by a bear, we will be ready to go because it fits the situation that we're in, right? So when you worry, you're just listing all the things that you aren't prepared for and not necessarily taking action on getting prepared for those things, right? But when you plan, you're like listing like, we are prepared for all of these things and this is how. Four, sorry. How, I can't even say like, oh, I can't count because literally in my notes, it's like listed in like numerical order. So sorry. Number 4 out of 7 is when you worry, you focus on what's outside of your control and make decisions based in fear. But when you plan, you decide what to do based on what you can control. So when you worry and you're focusing on everything that you cannot change, and you like still want to change it because you feel like you might be able to worry yourself into a way to make that change, which we all know is not going to happen. But you think you can, right? So you're like, I'm up for the challenge. So you're like, okay, well, all of these things that are like, I can't do anything about, and now I'm fearful for how the whole thing is going to turn out because of these things I can't control, meaning like you can't like forcefully decide and make something happen for your benefit or the benefit of someone else or whatever the case may be, right? But when you plan, you're only looking at the things that you can control. There is no use or reason for you to focus on anything outside of your control because there's literally nothing you can do. And you just gotta like let it go, right? It's like you can plan around those things of like, okay, what can I control and how will this contribute to me not getting burned or having issues from the things that I cannot control? You could also consider that as well. So again, when you worry, you focus on what's outside of your control and make decisions based in fear. But when you plan, you're really just focusing on making decisions based upon what you know you can control. Number 5, when you worry, you aren't clear in what you need from others because you're focused on the unknown, which I can understand is sometimes paralyzing. When you plan, you are very clear in what you need from others because you're basing it on what you do know. So when you worry, you're so caught up in all the thoughts that are swirling through your brain and taking up any extra room for you to actually have stable thoughts about what help do you need? What assistance could you get, right? You're just like, you're very unclear because you're like, well, I don't know if I need this or this. And what if this happens? And what if this happens? And then I'll need to do this, that, and the other. There's no way for you to actually like write out a sheet of paper and be like, these are the things I need. Because you're so caught up in like not knowing exactly what's going to happen, which is a common experience to have in life of just not knowing what's going to happen because we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. It just is what it is. So we can get so wrapped up in being like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? All these unknown things. This sucks. But when you plan, you're very clear on what you need from others because you're basing it on what you know. You're basing it on what's in your control. You're basing it on like what you know right now in the situation and not like fearful to make a decision because you don't know how it's going to turn out an hour from now, right? Or a year from now. Like you don't know, but you're trying to plan for it. And so you're like, okay, well, let's base it on what I actually know right now. And then we'll take those clear steps and make those decisions because that is the best thing to do. Because living in the future is pointless because we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Like, that sounds so simple, but it's true. We just don't know. So we can't pretend that we know. We can't try to make it happen. Like, we just don't know. So why? We should just let it go. We don't know. Let it go. Whew, good rhymes. Good rhymes. But yeah, so when you worry, you aren't going to be clear on what you need from others because you're so focused on the unknown. But when you plan, you're going to be very clear on what you need from others because you're basing it on what you know right now and what's in your control, what can actually likely happen. Okay, number 6, again, of 7. When you worry, you come up with so many worst case scenarios without developing a solution for them. So you're just like, oh my gosh, this could happen, and this could happen, and this could happen, and this, right? But when you plan, you come up with a backup plan to any worst case scenarios you come up with. So the difference is when you're worrying, you're just like, oh my gosh, this and this and this and this could happen. But when you're planning, you're like, this could happen, and this is what we should do. This could happen, and this is what we should do. This could happen, and this is what we should do. This could happen, and this is what we should do. So it's like the basic difference between those things is, actually coming up with a solution. When you worry, you don't. You're so sucked in to what the actual worry is, what the possibility of something happening is, that to extend that extra energy to figure out what the heck you can do to either prevent it or manage the situation, you're not doing that. You're like, no, I'm too focused with coming up with the scenario of what could happen and getting so sucked into it that it's so overwhelming and I kind of think it's starting to happen in my head, right? But when you plan, you're like, okay, this definitely could happen. Like, let's pack this battery charger thing in our car in case the car battery dies on this road trip, right? That would be a way for you to plan and have a backup plan for a worst case scenario because you'd actually be able to probably solve the problem as opposed to worrying and just coming up with worst case scenarios and not being able to solve any problem because you're so fixated on the problem, you don't even have room to come up with a solution. So that is number 6. Okay, number 7 and the last one we have today, and I know this one's a little bit shorter than the other episodes have been, but sometimes that's the way it goes. So number 7, and our last one today is worrying feels like it'll never end. But planning thoughts can stop when a plan has been decided on. So when you worry, you feel like it'll never end. You feel like worry is holding you hostage. You cannot get out of it. You are constantly worrying about everything. You're finding things to worry about. When you're done worrying about your own things, you're worrying about what your friends told you and your family and then the people that you saw on the internet today. People at work, everywhere. People you read about in a book. You are worried about all that stuff. It has got you in a chokehold. It'll never end. But when you plan, you are taking the time and the initiative to come up with thoughts and ideas of what you can do. And then you're able to just be like, okay, ooh, like, okay, we're done here. That's the sound I was trying to make, not hitting the microphone. I apologize. Yeah, so that's the big difference, right? Planning thoughts, you can just stop. You're like, okay, I'm done with planning this thing. Let's move on to something else. Whereas worries, you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot leave this worry alone. I need to tell everyone about this worry. I need to make a video about it online. I need to write 10 text messages to all my friends about this worry. I'm worried. It's so much. And so you don't want your worries to hold you hostage, obviously, right? You want them to serve as a kind of like a trigger, but more of like a warning of like, oh man, this whole thing could just, consume me in the worst way if I do not figure out a way to move forward and slip into planning so I can figure out what to do to move forward, as opposed to getting stuck and held hostage here, constantly just clinging to the worry because it fulfills this need for us to like do something and feel like we can still control it regardless of the fact we probably can't, and just that keeping busy and keeping those distractions going. And really, it'd be nice to like, okay, well, that's a problem. Nothing we can do about it right now. Maybe there's more people we can talk about at some other point. Let's reconvene then. Which, makes sense, right? It makes sense. But okay, that's all 7, you guys. That's all 7 of like some examples of the differences between worrying and planning. Because again, it can be really easy to mix these up if we feel like we are planning but actually worrying, or we are purposely masking our worrying with planning, or with planning we feel like we step over that boundary of doing too much where we start coming up with too many problems and worst case scenarios and in enough ways, not enough solutions, or even the time to consider anything else that could happen or change, right? So just another, helpful thing I think in our day-to-day life of, okay, am I getting so sucked into worrying, or am I just planning really good? And then sometimes I get sucked into worrying. Maybe certain situations and experiences that you're going through with certain people lead you to do more worrying than planning, or vice versa. And maybe you can find the correlation there too. That would really help with your emotional growth, I promise. So figure that out, and then you'll be good to go. But, oh man, the video version of this is going to be crazy. It won't be out for a little bit, but because I'm trying to catch up on all the episodes, but yeah. Hand gestures everywhere. But thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, with me, Sabrina. Thank you for listening, downloading, sharing the show. You guys are amazing. I appreciate every single one of you. Please do not forget to check the show notes below to find out about RSVPing for the planner, signing up for the weekly newsletter, saying hi to me on Instagram or TikTok, sending an email, anonymous venting, anonymous topic suggestions, all of the things. Oh, also, you can join the text community. I keep forgetting that one. That would be fun too. But until next time, have a good one, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.